Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a new project for your Visual Basic application, and also how to open an existing project. So once you start Visual Studio, if you have any projects open, you'll see them over here, and you could just click on them and they'll open right back up again. I'll demonstrate that shortly, but right now I just want to come over here to create a new project. Okay, so we want to make sure that we come over to this drop down and choose Visual Basic, and that's going to give your options here. And what we want to choose is a Windows Form application. And then we're going to choose Next. Okay, so we want to give this project a name. I'll just call it Sample. A location where you want to put it. This is going to be the default location, but if I want to put it someplace else, I think I'm just going to put it in my VB files folder. And then the solution name will be the same name as the project. I'm going to click this so that you have the solution and project in the same directory. It just creates a subdirectory with the same name, and sometimes that can be confusing. Okay, and I'll just choose the default here and choose Create. Okay, so while I'm waiting for this to load, I'll show you on the right we have what's called our Solution Explorer and our properties. If for any reason that you do not see these, you can go up to your your view menu, right? And you can come down here and choose Solution Explorer, right? And then this will come back, or you could choose Properties window and this will come back. And once you get them up, you can, use a little push pin to pin them because you're really going to need them. Okay. So this is opening up our new form. You are going to need your toolbox. So I'm going to click on Toolbox and I'm going to pin that. And this pretty much should be set up for you to use now. So this is your form. When we get started, we're going to just be using some simple tools. So I'll expand this so it says all Windows forms. And for right now, I'm just going to click and drag this button onto my form. Okay, just so I can show you a little bit about the environment. Now, there's two parts to Visual Basic, and this is when, for our class, you're going to have to zip your file, your folder, right, with everything in it and send it to me or submit it that way, because there's a lot of files that are involved. You can't just, like in Computer Science 1, send me a CPP file. It doesn't work that way. I need all of these files together. So this is your design. And if you want to, you can come up to View, and you can also have a code window. And this will show you your code for Form 1. There's no code right now, okay? But if either one of these are not there or you can't see them, right, I'll just say yes for now, okay? What I can do is I can come up here to my view menu. Well, I think I have to open it first. Sorry, I'll come over here. I'll double click on form1.vb, and that usually will just pull up your design. And then if you go to view, you can pull up your code as well. So you'll have two tabs here that you're working with. The other thing you can do, and I'll just close my code tab, if you click anywhere on the form, that'll also pick this up. Now this also just created an event handler, which I'll talk about in a minute. I'm just going to delete that and go back. Okay, so when you're putting controls on the form, you can, move them around. There's resizing handles. You can change the size. This will all be explained as we move through our course. The other thing that's important to note is when you click on a control down here in the properties, you'll see that. See where it says button 1, and this is the button 1 properties, and these are all the properties that you can change. And they're in categories, which is fine. I tend to like the A through Z or the alphabetical listing of these because, I can generally find things faster that way. That might be my preference, okay? But you'll see, just as an example, there's a text property right here. You can see says button 1. That just changes right, the text on the button. So that's what the text property does. The other thing that we'll be seeing in this first chapter is that in addition to the text that's on the button, all of these controls have what's called an internal name. That's kind of like their variable name in programming, and we really don't want to use the defaults. If you have 3 buttons, there'll be button 1, button 2, button 3. But generally what we do is we put a prefix on them. I'll call this BTN, which is the 3-letter prefix for buttons, and I'll say click. Okay, and the reason we use this is with IntelliSense, when we're writing our code, if we wanted to code one of our buttons and we just type BTN, we'll see a drop-down list of all the ones that occur, and that just makes it a little bit easier for us. Okay, so that's just really simple. This will just run our program up here, the little green triangle. And so I'll just wait for this to run. And here it is. Here's the form. And if I click the button, nothing happens because there's no code associated with it yet. Okay. So, if you click on double click any of these, it creates what's called an event handler. So this is just where you would put the code for this particular button. So we will talk more about that as we proceed, but it's kind of like, if you look at it, it's an event handler. It's a function, if you want to think about it that way, a little short section of code, because you guys are familiar with the term functions. In Visual Basic, we have functions and procedures, but this is where you write the code. So this is the beginning, this is the end, here's where you put your code. And then when you click on the button, whatever code you put in there will get executed. So here's a really simple just line of code, me.close, right? That just closes your form. So now if I run this again and I click on the button, it just closes my form. All right, I'm not going to do anything more exciting than that. Okay, so there's a lot of files here. I'm going to choose Save All whenever I save my my files here. I can choose File, Close Solution, right, which will choose this and bring us back to this landing page. Okay, so now if I want, like, let's say I come back in and I want to run this program again, I'll just double click on it and it'll open back up. Okay. I'm going to show you a little bit about what files are created. So right now I'm going to do File, Close Solution, and I'm actually going to, I'm going to exit right out of here. Okay, another way to open an existing project is just to go to where your files are located. So I'm out of Visual Basic right now, and my project that I just created is called Sample, and I'll click on that. And the easiest way to really open it is just to open your solution file. See this file with a SLN, and that will open everything back up for you. If you didn't click that little box, you might have another folder called Sample that you have to go in to find that. And that's why initially I always, excuse me, click on that box to say put them in the same folder. And so you can open it this way as well. Okay. I want to show you something out. There we go. So that opened. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. And this is what I want to talk about. When you go to submit things to me, I need this whole folder and everything that's inside of it. All right? The whole folder and everything that's inside of it. So that's why in the instructions you will see that I will have you find this and I will have you compress this. And then this is what you need to send to me is the compressed folder. A couple of things you should really consider is closing out a Visual Studio entirely before you submit anything to me, because sometimes some interim files aren't closed properly. That's number one. And number two, once you start a project, don't try and rename anything. Don't try and rename the project. Once it's started, if you start to try and rename anything, then it can't find the files it needs, and that can cause issues. Okay, so that's a little introduction to creating a Visual Basic application in Visual Studio.